Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Going to take some questions this morning. Hope you're doing well. We'll show some CSS videos as well. But before we get started, there's an article I wrote and I put it into the description below. Just want to explain it a little more. I think we might have touched a little bit on it yesterday. But this is really all about making yourself a good recruit. And it really does come down to you and your initiative because you really need to think about going to serve like you would any career option. You don't walk into a building and ask a stranger, "Hey, thinking about joining the army. I don't know what kind of job I can do. Don't know what I'm even interested in. What do you have for me?" It's not a good way to go into this. You need to do the research and find out, which branch of service is best for you, which job inside that branch of service is best for you. And I mean, there's just hundreds of jobs that you can do in the service, and will get out of your military time what you put into it. You can come out and be beaten down because you hated every bit of it, or you can actually apply yourself, pick a job that you want, join, and do that job to the best of your ability, and then advance throughout that. You may even get all your college paid for, may get, you know, increase in rank and pay and change your mind and do a different job a few years later. I mean, there's so many different opportunities available to you if you just take them. And if you're one of those guys that just can't do anything else, you're not happy of where you are, sometimes the military is a really good option for you. However, you definitely have to change your mindset going in, because if you're going in like, I got nothing else I can do, you're probably not the best recruit, to be honest with you. And it's fairly competitive. So do your homework. That means check out all the websites, check out all the jobs available, ask people whether it's online or, you know, veterans in your town about how they like it. You're going to get you're going to get some honest feedback. Some people hate it, some people love it. Some people are like, "Hey, I'm glad I did it while I was young. It was a good way to build some discipline and good way to get college paid for, and now I'm a civilian and I'm doing this." I mean, it's a great stepping stone, especially if you just get out of high school and you have nowhere to go. However, if you're trying to do something a little more challenging in your military profession, like special ops programming, you cannot rely on anybody but yourself and your training to prepare you for that challenging job, because it's going to kick your butt. And there's this perfect storm of failure that I see, unfortunately, countless times. And it looks like this: 18-year-old kid walks in, he's got 6 more months of high school, goes to the recruiter and says, "I want to be a Navy SEAL." Great. Let's get you in, signed in, delayed entry program. Let's take this PST. And you're like, "What's the PST?" That's a bad start right there, right? You should be crushing the PST before you even walk in to that recruiter's office. That'll save you a lot of heartache right there. Because what's going to happen is you're just going to go in, take the PST a few times, give up because you're like, "This is too hard. I don't know how to swim. I really bit off more than I can chew because I didn't do any research." Or you're one of those guys that pick it up and you're making progress and you finally get to the point where you pass the PST. But guess what? You really only got good at taking the PST. You got good at being a recruit, passing the standards, and getting accepted into SEAL training or any other spec ops job. You didn't really spend enough time focusing on the next stage of this, and that's upping your game and getting through the next challenge, which is 4 mile timed runs, 2 mile swims with fins, obstacle courses, running with boats and logs, load bearing, strength, durability. All of those things have to be a part of your journey. And that's that phase one, phase two that I spoke about in my last podcast. You got to get to the training and then you have to prepare yourself to get through the training. And if you can do all of that, like get first phase done before you even go talk to a recruiter, they're going to take you a lot more seriously. And you give them, 6 months before you can ship out. Next thing you know, you are killing it, right? You got plenty of time to go and crush a PST, maintain your PST scores, but also prepare yourself for the load bearing, the rucking, the swimming with fins, the drown proofing, the treading, all of those things that just cut people's dreams in half whenever they join. And then, you're joining, you got 4 years of service left, and you just got your butt kicked. You want to go back, but sometimes it's hard to go back, right? You got to go serve for a couple of years doing a job you probably don't really want to do. So you could be a better recruit by taking a little more initiative and understanding the whole process and what it really means to be in shape. A lot of people just don't understand what it means to be in shape. And if any of you've ever taken PSTs with a recruiter, you can vouch for me and and say, yes, I was the only one in my group that passed the PST, and these guys have been there for 4 months. That you're just going to be a PRT failure, and that is not a very good job interview for this program. So think about all that before you jump in and you take a test blindly for the first time. You're going to suck at it. If you've never done it before, it's going to be a rude awakening. You can't just look at the test and say, oh, yeah, I can pass that. Doesn't work. Chances are you won't. Okay, sorry, that's my rant. But read that article. It's a really good article. Be a good recruit. Gives you a timeline. And some people can be a good recruit and crush it and within 3 to 4 months of preparation, depending on their athletic history. Some people it may take a year. It took me over a year and a half to really be uh, an acceptable spec ops candidate, and I played 3 sports in high school. So I went after college, and those 4 years really helped me thoroughly prepare. You don't have to go to college to thoroughly prepare. You just need time to prepare, finish growing. That's going to be helpful. Being a little more mature. But yeah, there's an article I wrote called "The Perfect Storm for Failure," and it's heartbreaking. I see it. Leaving home for the first time is stressful, right? For the young kid, you got to read that if that's you, and you'll agree with it if you've left home and you've had to grow up in a or a different city with a bunch of strange people that you've never met before. It's tough. All right, so let's go. What time break did you get between evolutions during the PST? I think Dylan just answered that for you. That's a very Googleable question, Alex. Go to the sealswick.com website. They'll walk you through it. All right. Any questions? Anybody got any questions here? If you do, send them. Happy to answer them. But while we're waiting on those questions, I want to show you two um, videos. And this is what I like about this video that I'm about to show you is this shows hard work on his own part. He came to me really sucking at swimming, and now he's able to swim a 9-minute 500. So I'll show that in a minute. I just saw a picture pop up or a question pop up. Are there any benefits, events, or group meets training for NSW in Central PA? I don't know. Um, Not really sure on that one. I mean, I'm in Maryland. You can always make a trip down to Maryland on the weekend and train with us. I always have 10, 15, maybe 20 people sometimes that are all going for various spec ops jobs in the military. If you need help, here to help. Those are free workouts. Heroesoftomorrow.org. You can read more about it at that website. So Trader Gaines. All right, man. Good job. I like working landscaping in Florida. That's what I did in high school. I worked in watermelon fields and landscaping in Florida. Those were tough jobs, and then you go work out afterwards. Good stuff. Nice work. Good luck. All right. So let me share this video because it demonstrates what I like to call person's initiative. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying be a better recruit. He came to me a couple weeks ago. I showed him how to swim. This is that swim, and I'm going to show you 2 weeks later how he looks. All right, so you guys should be able to see this, right? All right. Try to make it a little bigger for you. Doesn't really work that way. All right, so let's put this back to the beginning. You guys should be able to see this, right? All right, so as you can see here, this is not a very good kick. It's not a good arm pull. I mean, anytime someone's looking back at me and I'm 6 feet behind them, never a good thing. You can see he's like going nowhere. He's got all these little flutter kicks in there, and look at that scissor kick. I mean, the scissor kick's all jacked up. I mean, he's really lucky to be getting across the pool. I think the only reason why he's getting across the pool is all these little flutter kicks. Then he does a flip turn, which can't do a flip turn. So he doesn't know a whole lot about this, right? I mean, he's already done 3 strokes before most people do one with a good kick off the wall. I think he did 4 strokes before that yellow marker. So as you can see here, he's popping up, big kick. I mean, those big kicks like that, it's just like, let's put on the brakes while we're going swimming. So there's so many things here that you should not be doing. The kick's messed up, the flutter kick's added, you're popping your head up, your top arm, your bottom arm, it's all messed up. So there's a whole lot messed up there, right? So let's show what it looks like. What it looks like as of yesterday. I filmed him yesterday. Now check this out. So let me share my screen. All right, so you guys should be able to see this. Now check this out. So he kicks off the wall. Look at that. Double arm pull. Comes up for his first breath right there. So he has already taken off 3 strokes, right? 3 breaths, basically. He kicked off the wall. It's not a beautiful kick off the wall, but it's decent. I mean, he's coming up for his first breath right there versus his fourth on that previous. So once I saw this, I'm like, okay, he's been practicing. And now let's see what's going on. So we got a top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. He's still got a little bit of flutter kicking that he needs to, get rid of. But his top arm's much better. He's not popping his head up. He popped his head up a little bit there, but that is so much better. I think he did that in like 5 strokes. Now, he also needs to work on his turnaround as well. So these are like minor critiques that, take minutes to fix versus, weeks that he's been putting in to fix this. So I think he put about 2 weeks. He said he swam about 10 different times for hour and a half every time, practicing his technique, watching videos, and the work, it shows. It shows so much. I mean, that is a CSS. And if you do the math on that without the super long turnaround, he's got around a 45-second, um, 54-second 50, which is right about 9 minutes. So I have to say, that's how you do it. That is impressive to me. Shows initiative, shows he really wants it. He'll work out on his own because he has to travel to come see us and, travel a couple hours and then, um, works on his own at his hometown. So there you go. All right, let's see. Did that one. Let's take a couple questions here. Just want to say thank you about your winter program to help me prepare for British Army infantry. I was midway through basic and ouch. Sorry about that. Tore your shoulder. That's horrible. Hopefully you get rolled and get to finish it again. Think I'm going to Maryland to train with Stu and the guys. Come on down, man. We're here. Seriously, check out heroesoftomorrow.org. And it's just a page on my website. And it's free training. I train kids for free who want to serve. And get you guys give me ideas to write about. In fact, speaking of which, I have just finished my spring training workout book. So I'll show you the what spring training looks like here in a second. Just got it done yesterday. It will be up tomorrow, or probably today, I think. So this is part 3 of my seasonal tactical fitness periodization. So there's a 4-part series. There's 4 seasons in a year, and this is what it is. So I have the I have the fall, winter, and the spring, and then hopefully by the end of the year, I will have the summer done. And then at the New Year's around that time, I can put it all in a nice little 4-book package, and you'll have a whole year of seasonal tactical fitness periodization training. So it's a little bit different from prior ones, but it's along the same lines. So anyway, very excited about that. So thanks for coming to train with me and give me ideas to train. So here's the other 2 right here. In fact, so the other 2, I haven't made a picture yet with all 3 of them. And I haven't gotten the cover back from the printers. So this is the fall and winter cycle. We're actually doing this fall transition training right now. And then once winter gets here, about mid-December, we will start the winter lift cycle. So that's how we do things here. Actually makes a lot of sense. If you've never heard of seasonal tactical fitness periodization and what it is and why it's important, I would suggest reading this. It is a way to train, obviously, not the only way to train, but it is a system that allows for you to not ignore any elements of fitness weaknesses. That means strength, power, speed, agility, mobility, flexibility, endurance, muscle stamina, running, rucking, swimming, endurance, and also non impact cardio endurance if you need it, and grip. And those are very important if you're thinking about becoming a tactical athlete in the tactical professions, or you just want to be very well rounded. I got a lot of people that have served or aren't going to serve, but they like the idea of this type of training because it is it offers them an ability to not get stale with the same old workout month after month after month, because it changes every 3 months pretty much. And it you know makes you a better asset in situations, natural or man-made. That you're strong enough or you're fast enough or you can run a certain distance or swim across the pool to help somebody if they need help, or a lake. So anyway, that's why we do it. So Dylan, my man's been training with it for a long time. What are your thoughts on staying healthy while training pre-military and especially during selection? Currently battling post-holiday illness. Yeah, that happens a lot with training. Worried about getting sick at buds, etc. Yeah, those are the things that everything that you learn during COVID, right? With, not saying you have to wear a mask and stuff like that, but just wash your hands, don't touch your face. Um, just be just be aware of potential places to catch germs, and that's like touching hand railings or even doorknobs. Those are things that I'm not trying to be a germaphobe here, but your number one goal when you go through any boot camp or basic military training and you have spec ops prep stuff afterwards is your number one goal is try not to get sick. And it's very tough to do, but it requires you to um, just be diligent with cleaning, not touching your face. Literally, don't even use your hands to touch your face unless you're washing your hands and face. Um, don't pick your nose. Don't put your fingers in your mouth. Just gross stuff like that. That is a great way to spread germs and get them right into your body. And next thing you know, you're sick. Um, but if you can do that, you are so far ahead of the game. And what I mean by that is, if someone's battling bronchitis, it turns to pneumonia, you know, things like that happen. And then now you go to prep and you've been feeling like crap for the last 6 weeks, haven't really been able to work out because it's Navy boot camp. And then you got to pass a PST, your first week at prep, or you're cut from the program. That sucks. I've seen it happen countless times. And that's why people who are barely passing the PST, when they go to prep after deconditioning for 10 weeks at boot camp, they have their spec ops dream has ended before they even started. Right? So you got to crush that PST, even on a bad day, be able to pass it, because you will have a bad day at some point, and you still have to be able to crush that test regardless. You should take it so many times that you have a strategy for when you feel like crap and you still crush it. So, yeah, it's a big worry, but just be diligent. I think you'll be fine. I've had several guys get sick and then bounce back, no problem. But I've had several guys say, "Yeah, man, I'm so glad I didn't get sick because I was able to, when we started running, I was able to go running more and just crushed the PST, actually got faster because I was doing a lot of workouts, you know, before everybody else woke up. I would do lunges and squats and push-ups and sit-ups, flutter kicks. Then I do pull-ups where the laundry room is. So there's ways to sneak it in there, and I would recommend doing that. But if you're sick, probably need your sleep. So there's this fine line of how you juggle that. So, do you ship soon, Dylan? So Django says back to it this time, but eyeing up Ranger Regiment for our infantry down the line. So need to be even fitter this time around. Seeing a lot of progress this time around. Oh yeah, good job, man. Why you don't find the place to do Parkus obstacle? You mean parkour? Same the seal and same time to your training. Sorry, Felipe. I am not understanding what language that is. So it's your book who teach me to swim, same as the seals. All right, Felipe. Good job, buddy. It matters how you swim than the time. All right, Joe. You ask a lot of questions, but you ask crap questions because I have no idea what this means. So speak in full sentences. I know you speak English, so you have no excuse. So what does this question even mean? It matters how you swim than the time. That makes no sense. I mean, yes, technique matters, but time matters too, right? You need to be fast. Man, come on, my guys are killing me. All right. If time and money aren't a major issue, would you recommend these candidates getting into Patty Scuba certified to get familiar with diving? Shouldn't they try it out to see if that's what they really want? Absolutely. I was a Patty scuba diver. Been diving in North Florida freshwater springs in my early teens. Certified in my teens. Loved it, and definitely um, glad I did it. In fact, I recommend it for guys, especially if they have time. And there's a couple of places like around here, like go to the community college. Like if you're 18 years old and your fitness isn't 100%, you're not ready yet. I recommend this to them. Go to the community college and take fun courses. Take the Patty Scuba course. That is a college credit. Take EMT courses, right? That is very helpful for you in this journey. Um, you'll probably, even though you might not like school, you'll probably be more interested in these topics because they're what you're interested in. They're you need to know them, especially if you're going into these professions. So eat up some time, train really hard, take some extra courses that are going to not only help you in your military career. A lot of people sometimes there's a need to buy time. And a lot of people don't buy time properly. They're just working all the time. They don't have time enough to work out, or they're still in school and playing sports, trying to work out. So sometimes you need to actually have more time focused on training. And that's a great way to fit some useful things into your day as well as have time to train. So, yes, 100%. I would recommend it. Sir, did you fought or had any symptoms of pneumonia during Hell Week? Um, no, I did not. I was lucky. Did not get sick during Hell Week, but I was in a lot of pain with chafing. Primarily, that was my biggest pain, was chafing pain. In fact, I don't think the hair grows back on my legs where my legs rubbed. It was pretty bad. Um, but nothing that wasn't tolerable. Uncomfortable, yes, but luckily I had no pneumonia symptoms. Now I did have an illness before or after Hillwick, I can't remember, but I was throwing up everywhere, and the instructor saw me, and we weren't working out at the time. It was like a classroom, and I found a garbage can, just threw up. Looked like hell. I was pale, and the guy goes, "You better get the hell out of here. Go to medical." You know, luckily it was a Friday, so I had the rest of Friday to go to medical. I missed a day of training, rested all over the weekend, and came back ready to go on Monday. So I didn't get kicked out or rolled for medical. Um, but yeah, that that was bad. But they don't want you around either if you're contagious. So they'll tell you to go back to your room and keep that stuff away from them. No one wants to get sick. Dylan, good luck. Hope to see you there soon. Not in a boot camp, but in the teams. Let's see. Today is a day of wrong typing. Yeah, I think everybody's just shifted over, screwed up their typing. So I'm just going to read it just like I see it, just because it's kind of funny. Well, the question came after a long time after the CSS video. It matters both how you swim and the time also is the PST. Yes. Thanks for commenting because I don't see if that's a question or not. Doesn't look like a question, even though you did put a question mark on there. So I appreciate the punctuation. I do paramedic. If anyone has questions, hey man, yeah, good stuff. Great tools in your tool bag for sure. What are your recommendations to keep from getting injured while training for special forces? Just be smart. I mean, I've written about this countless times. A lot of it, I think it's called Ending Your Spec Ops Dream Before They Start. I think that's the title of it. Actually did a podcast on it too. So these are things that can end your spec ops dream before they even start. A lot of it has to do with injuries, but most of them are stupid injuries. Contact sports, MMA type stuff, um, biking, you know, um, on the road. Unfortunately, seeing so many people get hurt doing these type of extra training programs thinking that they're good. They are good, but if you're 3 to 4 months out from about to serve and then you get injured and these are all examples of things I've seen. You throw a punch and you break your hand, you wreck on a bicycle and need surgery for that shoulder that you just tore. um, you do breath holds and die. Not smart. Um, what are some other ones? Oh, big endurance run. You go run 100 miles to check your mental toughness, and then you need hip surgery when you get back. So there's so many ways to avoid getting injured by not doing those things like that close to training. Now, there's always this fine line, right? And you're going to want to push hard, but you don't want to go to the point where you're pushing so hard that now you're getting into the stupid side of mental toughness, because there's mental toughness and then there's um you get injured. I would say there's the fine line between mental toughness and stupidity is right there. So off of trying to stay out of the hospital is wise. Other than that, your normal workouts, unless you're doing something poorly in, poor form, or poor technique, or you're picking up a generic program. Let's say you're picking up a workout like this. This is one that is very tough. It's my toughest workout I've ever created. Um, if you're doing this one and you haven't really built up to it, now you're running too much, you're doing too many reps, you're doing too much weight, all those things that you need to maybe personalize a little better. Um, that's another way to get injured. So you don't want to do that. So Tom's helping me out here. Thank you, Tom. I think Felipe was wondering if parkour training could help him prepare for obstacle courses. Absolutely. If that is a very good guess. Um, yeah, I don't do parkour because I'm 53 and I know I'm going to break myself if I try to jump from another building to another. Probably don't have my jumps like I used to when I was in my 20s. Um, but no, that kind of jump power, balance, agility, sure, I think it's great. But once again, there's a potential risk to it as well. And next thing you know, you break an ankle, you need surgery, and now it's 8 months to a year before you can train hard again, and you just screwed up your timeline to go on to spec ops training. So there's another great example of hurting yourself. Do you brush your teeth while on patrol in the Rangers? I don't know. Ask a Ranger. I will tell you this, I've always kept a toothbrush in my front pocket. So whenever I felt like I needed to brush my teeth, I would brush my teeth. I rarely did it on patrol, if ever. So not sure why that matters, but you do need to find time to brush your teeth because that gets funky. You feel like you could scrape your teeth and it'd be just as effective. So unfortunately, I might have another video that I had downloaded, but let me see. I don't think I have others to show. I just thought that one was a really good one. I did put it up on his latest one up on TikTok. So if you're looking for CSS swim videos, check out the TikTok page. Yeah, I don't have any others submitted. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh, look at this one. Always got to show this one. This is just fun. And I don't have any other videos, so I'm going to show a video of me swimming. How about that? So here we go. So last year I did this swim. Now, what do you see here? Oh man, damn it. So what do you see here? One hand on top of the other, little dolphin kick, double arm pull. But notice that double arm pull is not like a jumping jack, right? I'm grabbing water out in front of me and then I'm pushing it down with my triceps. So where I see a lot of people screw this up is they actually just use only their shoulders instead of grabbing water, pulling it and pushing it down to make a little more unidirectional force vector. And that really get you going. So now look where I came up for my first breath. Like there's the yellow marker where our fella came up for his fourth stroke when he was not doing well. But here you go with the first stroke, got a body length past that thing. So that's not quite halfway across the pool, but it's getting there. So we got a top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Notice whenever I pull that top arm, I turn my head. A lot of people screw that up a little bit with, and you'll be able to see it better on this side because I face you this way. Is when that top arm goes, your face should be right there, right out of the water. And then while the bottom arm is pulling, you take that inhale. Boom. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. There you go, man. There's no loss of momentum on this stroke with a turn to breathe or whatever. So I like that one. That's a good one. So There you go. Yes, that is true. All right, let's go. You guys lay off Joe. He just asks questions that pop into his brain. Um, all right. So I know you recommend 20 to 40 miles per week, but what type of person needs around 20 and who needs 40? You know what? That's a really good question. I will tell you this. Bigger guys who um, need to work on their speed, I would suggest doing fewer miles but faster. And I would say, though, that guy still needs to build up to 40 just so he can kind of run a little bit of his ass off, literally. So if he needs to lose some weight, sometimes adding some more calorie burn during the day can help that person do that. But it has to be a progression. And there's no reason why anybody can't be in that range, but my advice is say 20 to 25 all at 6 and 7 minute mile pace. Then if you feel like you want to run a few longer runs a little slower, build up to another 10 or 15 miles, that's up to you. A lot of people like to play the game of building aerobic base by adding some long slow distance runs. You can do that, but if you're susceptible to aches and pains of those extra miles, for instance, a non-running athlete who is a bigger person, so you're feeling those strains a little bit more than the 150-pound runner. So if you're a 150-pound runner, I would recommend running a lot less and lifting a lot more, so you can build up some of your mass and not be running it off at 60 to 70 miles a week like you may have done in cross country practice. So unfortunately, it really depends on the person. I think I've over the years I have seen people at that 20 to 40 mile range and do just fine. Some stuck were at the 20 to 25 miles a week and fast. Some were at the 40 to 50 miles a week and mixed in a few slower ones. But they did at least 25 of them fast. That's the key, because you got to be at that 6 minute mile for your timed run on your mile and a half, maybe even 2 miles. And then you need to be at that 7 minute mile pace on 4 and 5 mile timed runs, depending on what branch of service you're in. So that's going to give you a good above average score. Good question. I hope that helps you with that answer. That was a really good question. But, unfortunately, the main answer is it just depends. Really depends on that athlete and what that athlete can handle. When I say 20 to 40 miles being a good range, it is a good range. You don't need to be one or the other necessarily. It's just over the years, I have seen countless people do too much and go too slow and not be able to pass a 32-minute 4 mile timed run in first phase. A lot of people. So you got to work. Yes, it's an aerobic exercise, but guess what? You're running hard. It's going to be a little more than aerobic activity. It's going to be in that next level of energy system of anaerobic activity, because you're going to be burning sugar to try to keep up a good pace when your legs are tired. Let's see. Practicing treading water without using hands. Yes, that's a classic. And you should practice. A lot of people don't practice this one. Should we be able to keep our head out of the water like a water polo player, or can your head sink in? As long as your face is out of the water, that's usually pretty good. Sometimes it's the chin. Some people lean back and do it like that, so their ears may actually be underwater. My advice is keep your ears out of the water because you still need to hear the instructor, what they're saying. Um, yeah, your head can sink in, but you definitely want to keep your hands out of the water. Like we just had a test at the academy, and as long as you held the weight over the water, and if your head went under for a few seconds, that was still a passing tread. But you had to keep that weight over above the water. But you can't stay under there too long because you got to breathe. You're putting out. So off topic question. But what does the deployment cycle for a SEAL look like? Is it 12 to 20, 18 to 24 months? Um, it is 18 months to my knowledge. Now, those things change depending on um, the need for like combat deployments, like they've had the last 20 years. Those were all 18-month cycles. Um, with the deployment making it 24 months, if that makes sense. So you train up for 18 months and then you do a 6-month deployment. So, yes, 24 months. Now, I have seen it to where it's 12-month workup and a 6-month deployment, so a 18-month cycle. It just kind of depends, depending on what branch of service you're in. Sometimes you're really some are even a year deployment. So, yeah, there you go. When does anaerobic become aerobic? Joe, that's a really good question. Well, when they talk about building your aerobic base, so when you start running, if you keep your heart rate at a nice steady zone 2, they call it, which if you do the research on what zone 2 it is, it's probably around, depends on what your max heart rate is and age and all that. But let's say it's 120 to 130. It's like a good zone 2, might even be 140. And you're not really burning a lot of blood sugar when you're doing that. It's not like you're not killing like your glycogen stores when you're in that lower zone. It's conversational pace. It's not that hard to maintain. But doing that enough, you can slowly start increasing your speed and keeping your heart rate at that in that same zone. That just means you're getting in better running shape. So that is what they mean by, you know, building an aerobic base. Now, you have this aerobic base. Now you're trying to take it up a little higher. So let's say you're anaerobic at 160, right? But that speed at 160 is a 6-minute mile. So if you can get your heart rate to come down at a 6-minute mile and you bring it into your zone 2 aerobic zone, that means you've gotten in really good shape. And let me tell you, if you're running a 6-minute mile in a 26-mile marathon, you've turned that into an aerobic activity, right? There are people who can do it for 5-minute miles. You made it an aerobic activity versus being anaerobic the whole time. So, yeah, that heart rate is going to change tremendously, but it really kind of depends on what the fuel is that you're burning. Primarily, when you're doing anaerobic, it's glycogen and blood sugar. When you're doing aerobic, it's going to be a little mix of blood sugar, but if you can shut it down, even slow it down even more, you're going to be in that fat burning zone, for aerobic for long-term events. So there you go. Good question. So, but you can do aerobic zone training not with just running though. You can do it with swimming and biking, and that's where I get a lot of the guys when they're only running. Here's another answer to that question about 20 to 40 miles a week. For someone who can't handle 40 miles a week because they just haven't progressed up there yet, or they're a big guy and aches and pains really start to creep in on them. They're trying to lose weight. before they ramp up to 40 miles, stick at 20, get faster, but add in extra cardio like biking and swimming and rowing or elliptical or stair stepper. Those are really good non impact cardio activities that will get your legs and lungs burning similarly to what it is to run. So I have found, if you're going to do it in the pool, the hypoxic slash skip breathing model works really well where you're doing like 8 to 10 strokes per breath doing freestyle. I find that transfers over real well to running, and it can quickly help you boost your aerobic score um, a little faster and still be aerobic versus going into anaerobic. So there you go. All of it takes time. All of it takes time. All right, folks. This has been fun. Has anybody got any more questions? If I missed your question, just email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Happy to answer it by email. Like I said, some of them are pretty good that they may even become articles. That's where most of my articles come from, actually, are your questions. So thanks for asking questions. I do appreciate them. Also, later on today, you will see the spring training workout pop up, and it's a new one. Seasonal tactical fitness periodization spring cycle will be up later today. I'm just going to edit it one more round, see if there's anything I need to add into it, and I'll put it up on the store hopefully today. That was my plan by the end of this month, and I beat it by a day. So there you go. All right, looks like there might be a few more questions. Are they doing kettlebells in any service? I mean, there are kettlebells in just about every military weight room. Now, there's not any kettlebell testing other than running kettlebells in the Army CFT. They just run them back and forth. There's no swings, there's no snatches. Now, I will tell you this, the Secret Service has a 10-minute kettlebell snatch test. Let me tell you, that one sucks because it is doing snatches and you can change hands anytime you want, but the goal is just keep moving for 10 minutes. And that is brutal. You'll definitely hands will be bleeding by the end of that one. So I haven't seen them as far as anything other than just running, but people use them as a conditioning device more than anything. But you could use dumbbells for that same test too. It doesn't have to be a kettlebell. Adding butt kickers, Frankenstein walks, bounding, leg swings, side swings 2 times a week has been awesome. Thank you. Now, have you been doing it in chest deep water? Because that is life changing, especially if you have bad hips. If you do that in chest deep water, oh man, it is highly recommended. Feels really, especially after leg day, or you're running a lot or rucking. It's really good. Good job, Keith. Yes, chest deep water. I love it. Yeah, that man, that 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 there, along with the mobility day, changed my attitude completely because I was about mid 40s and running hard. It was the middle of a run cycle, and my hips were just really in a lot of pain. Like I think this might be my last year of running. I was going to resort to elliptical biking and swimming. I was done with running because my hips hurt so bad. And then I started doing the mobility day, and I started doing the treading water, followed by dynamic stretches in chest deep water. And within a month, I was 100% good to go on running again. And those things alone really helped. And all I did was I did it like every time I swam, which I was swimming about 4 times a week. And I would spend 10 minutes treading and about 5 or 10 minutes doing chest deep water after a 15, 20-minute swim workout. Oh man, night and day. Life changing. Still running now. I'm 53, still running. Ran today and lifted legs. How many times a week would you recommend doing sprints to get a faster run? Um, Now it depends. Are you looking at getting faster at your sprinting run, like a 400-meter or a 300-meter, or are you looking at getting faster at your mile and a half or timed run? There's nothing wrong with adding a sprint in there. We usually do it twice a week. Um, and they're usually shorter, faster runs, maybe 200s. Sometimes we'll do 100s. Um, but most of the time, we play around with the 400 being at a goal pace, not a sprint, but it is a faster run. So, for instance, I consider goal pace running this. Let's say you're running a 7-minute mile for your mile and a half, and that is a 10:30, and you want to get it down below 10. So my advice would be to run at your goal pace. And that new goal pace is 7 minus 1, right? So drop it down a minute faster. So now it's a 6-minute mile pace. And you can do a plus or minus 20 or 30 seconds if you want. So now your quarter mile goal pace runs, instead of running at 145 to get your 10:30, you're going to be running between 130 and 135 to master the pace that you need to run faster on your mile and a half. So that'll give you between a 9 flat and a 9:30 by learning how to run a 130 and a 135 between that range versus trying to run your quarters at 80, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good way to like top off a workout, bust it out real hard. You're warmed up. Let's go crush the last few. But that pace is not going to be sustainable for you because that's going to be a 5-minute mile pace. And I don't think you're planning on trying to drop down to a 7:30 from a 10:30 in a few months or weeks even. So practice it that way. So throw a few sprints in there, maybe on the back end of a running workout, but really master your goal pace. That's by far the most important if you're trying to get a faster run on a timed run. Yes. So I see that's what you meant. How fast were the fastest 4-mile timed runs and 2-mile swims in your class? Um, Good question. I think the guys that came in fastest on the 4-mile time run were probably around 25 minutes. I think my fastest I ever hit was like a 26:30. But I was usually at that 27, 28-minute zone, which is still 4 minutes faster than the minimum standard at 32. Um, and you don't want to be anywhere near that because that's flirting with failure too much. 2-mile swims were we had guys breaking an hour on those things, which that was like swim pair 1. I wasn't up that far. I was probably like swim pair 3 or 4. So I was in the top 10 and we would hit around 65, 70 at the slowest. And I think you had 85 minutes in first phase, 80 minutes in second phase, and 75 in third phase. So by the time you get third phase, it's really not that hard to hit 75 because everybody's kind of figured out how to swim straight, be a little more efficient out there. But yeah, those were pretty normal. Some of the fastest I've seen in the ocean were like 55 minutes. Swim pair 1 came in. And that's funny because you come crawling out of the water at like a 65 and you're looking over at the two guys that just finished, with a 55 and they're dry in their lockers, already eating, right? So they get an extra 10 minutes. But if you come in at 65 and there's still going to be people in the class that are coming across at 80, that gives you another 15 minutes to get dry, get in your dry uniform, um, start hydrating, get ready for the next event, get all your gear ready. And then it's going to be your job to help all the slow people after they get hammered for another 10, 15 minutes for losing. And then it's your job to help them, get all their gear ready for the next event. Otherwise, you're all going to pay because that's the way it works. If you're late because those last two guys, so you tend to help them out a little bit. Have I ever been to the Murphy Museum? I have not. I would like to see that though. I think it's worth the trip from what I hear. If you make the trip, do you think they'll give us a contract? I don't know. That's funny. I doubt it. How hard is shooting in third phase? Not that hard, but it is hard enough where people fail. It No one in my class failed it, but I have heard in the last few years that people who maybe have never shot a pistol before failed shooting pistol, and they got rolled and had to practice shooting pistol for the next couple of months, which it's not that hard to learn um, once you master it. But you know, all tactical skills taught at SEAL training or any other Spec Ops training really is kind of fed to you like through a fire hose. So you got to really absorb a lot, be able to duplicate that activity and skill that you just learned pretty quickly. So the ability to learn, ability to perform, hand-eye coordination, all of those little things like that come into play when you are dealing with um, some of the tactical skills that you are being taught, and to be able to do it proficiently to the standard that they're setting does take some repetition practice, you know, and sequence of procedures as well. All right, guys, been at this for an hour. You guys check out stewsmithfitness.com. Send me an email, stu@stewsmith.com. Happy to answer it if you don't feel like posting up here on public. I do have podcasts available that you can find them on YouTube, but they're also on Apple Podcasts. And just recently, I think we uploaded 100, 150 podcasts onto Audible. So if you have an Audible account, you can just download all those audio podcasts and hear what we're talking about. So check them out, give them a ranking. I'd appreciate it. And I'll see you next week. You guys have a good one.